Everybody, welcome to the flow from Ohm School Live. I was so excited about Ohm School. I was gonna say we're there first, but yes, definitely here in the flow. And some really good stuff here today. I've got a question. How many of you have felt like there's just something missing and you're wandering around in life? Like that's a good feeling. Like not a good feeling, but a good way of saying that. It's like you're just wandering around and you're looking for something. What's my purpose? Something's missing. And to the point where you feel so uncomfortable and out of place that relationships don't work, money doesn't come, nothing feels good. You know, your family is always a mess and fighting and things like that. And so today we are talking about the soul reconnection and the infinite patience of divine love. And I know that sounds so like warm and fuzzy and spiritual, but it really that soul reconnection is what is the piece to helping us find that missing self. So we've got master spiritual teacher here, GP Walsh, with us. Hello.
Hello, Lisa.
Ah, GP is in a new place today. He is traveling. He's the wandering sage. Talk about
Yep.
wandering around, right? You are in your first location. You're going to be touring around for a little bit before you
Yes.
find yourself.
Yes, indeed. I'm sitting here on a beanbag pillow,
Oh, are they comfy?
sitting on the floor with a beanbag pillow. Yeah.
Well, I would like to know one thing from you, GP, before we launch into this. Even though you have sold almost all of your newest possessions,
Yes.
you have limited yourself to a very small amount. 3 suitcases, I believe, is what you're working on.
Yeah.
You're sleeping in a new place. Do you still feel safe and grounded and whole and like yourself?
Well, the short answer is yes. The long answer is yes. There's some upheaval. There's oh, it is echoing a little bit, isn't it? I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. Let me make sure I can get rid of. Oh, can't do anything about that. That's weird.
You can hear it a little bit. We're doing some technical stuff because, as you
Yeah.
can see, we're in a different GP is in a different location.
Everything is different right now. So. Um, it doesn't, when there's a sense of self that is consistent, it's not like you don't feel just the kind of being discombobulated, right? um I felt the emotional sense of it. Just hang out with my granddaughter. She's been waiting eagerly for me to meet to arrive, because we're very close. And just watching everything leave that I owned. This nice, it was very comfortable, nice space, and all of a sudden it's like just stuff everywhere. There's an emotional feeling that goes there, but it doesn't disturb that essential energy, that essential sense of self, which is experienced when you have the experience of being reconnected to your soul. But we don't even realize that we've been disconnected. We don't realize that's actually the problem. We feel, as you were saying earlier, we feel out of place, something like something's missing, but we assume that something that's missing is something out here, something we're going to acquire. What's missing is you.
Yes, that's it's going to be the thing I hear for the rest of my life, I'm sure, is that I've got to find my purpose. I got to find my purpose. But if we don't even know, yeah, like we think something else is missing. We think that if we just had this or learned this, or I remember when I was little, my sister wanting to find her religion, you know, and because she was looking for this external belief system that would accept her versus maybe her. I don't know, actually. I'm going to ask you that. What do people experience when they are looking for a religion or a something to accept them?
Well, the big mistake is that we really do think that what we are missing is something outside of ourselves. Because the idea that somehow you may be living a life that isn't you seems completely remote to everyone. We really believe that this image we hold of ourselves, the sense of identity, is actually ourselves. And then in that identity, it's unsatisfied, but we think it's unsatisfied because something external is missing, be it a belief system or a relationship or money or, a relationship, not just a romantic one, but with a group of people, with a religious community. All of these things are what we believe is lacking. And of course, because everybody, for the most part, almost everybody believes that. And so that's all you hear, right? Find your tribe, find your purpose, and the like. And no matter how hard you try, it never works. That's why self-help is a treadmill. That's why the religions tend to become increasingly rigid and dogmatic, right? Because it isn't satisfying yet. So let's make it more harsh. Let's make it more strict, right? You're allowing too much sin. You're allowing too many bad thoughts, and the whole law of attraction thing can really tie you up in knots as well, because none of the external stuff is missing. You're a whale in a swimming pool. You're not being yourself. You've forgotten who you are.
Busy man. Well,
You've
when you say
forgotten who
that,
you
and
are.
when if somebody were to hear that, like, okay, I'm not being myself. I'm sure some people could take a defensive posture, like, what do you mean I'm lying or I'm being fake? Or the other people might feel really victimized, um, like so traumatized that they can't be themselves. So when does all this happen in our lives? You've talked about, the original disconnection, but
Mhm.
what have we ever been ourselves? And will we recognize that feeling when we reconnect again?
When we're children, yeah. I mean, you can see it in children. They're always they're always themselves, right? They're not always happy, right? But when they're not, boy, do they let you know. They don't hold anything back. They don't edit. They're not self-conscious, right?
Right.
They say yes when they mean yes and no when they mean no. And they express themselves quite thoroughly, right? And so you can see that. You can see the authenticity of that. But you can also see what happens because their authenticity meets with the disapproval of parents, community, religion, the culture as a whole. And what happens then? I mean, I always have to point back to the existential disconnect, to that first disconnect, because it's the only one that ever took place. Because from that moment on, you've been acting out a false version of yourself. And nobody's responsible for this. You're not guilty about anything you did. Um, and it's not like you're purposely being a phony, or taking on roles to manipulate people. um, you've gotten disconnected from the soul. And when I say the soul, what I'm talking about is you've gotten disconnected from your true nature. You're the whale in the swimming pool. You feel out of sorts because you are out of sorts, but that out of sortsness is not the environment you're in primarily. It is a disconnection, a denial of your own nature out of ignorance. And it's purely out of ignorance. It has nothing to do with, nobody chose this, right? But if you're a kid just being yourself and the environment is not conducive to you being yourself, it could be even downright hostile to being yourself, you're in an existential double bind. You can't be anything but yourself. You can't be something else, right? But the environment doesn't allow you to be yourself. So what do you do, right? Well, either you die, right? And it's that severe. I mean, this is felt as a life or death decision because it is. And so you either you either you either die, or you have to go underground.
Mm.
The angel has to be sent to the basement.
Yes.
And that's and as it when that happens, remember, you're not conscious of this. This is not a choice. This is the nervous system deciding it's going to survive no matter what. And the no matter what means, you, all of those qualities that make up you, they're down in the basement. And it brilliantly creates a completely false persona. Creates this persona, presents it, it gets the feedback, it gets the love, it gets the care, it gets survival, it gets all the things it needs to survive, right? So it gets the reinforcement for that. And then it completely forgets about you.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ah, wait, that sounded awful. And that last part, I'm like, wait, what? Do we get like this sudden amnesia? Because I see what you're saying though, because if we must, it's necessary, it's required for us to survive that we take
Yes.
on this, then we have no other choice but to shun, or get rid of, like say, no, 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 you can't come out. You can't come
You
out
can't
because
come
you'll
out.
kill me.
They
Is
will
that
kill you.
literally what's
That's
going on?
literally what's going on. If it comes out, I will die. And what's the best way to keep something hidden? Forget that it's there at all.
Mm,
If there's even a
right.
remembrance of it, there's a danger of it coming out.
Right. Actually, that's interesting because yes, when something comes to my mind and I don't want it to show up and I don't want the feelings to happen, I go, "Da, da, da, da." Don't even think about that.
What is
Like I just
What's
cut
the
it
guy?
off. No, right? Don't even imagine that happening. Bad things. So, um, in as we progress in life, so I really like to help the viewers here to really identify. It's not that we're going to identify who we were right away or who we are falsely, but what we'll recognize is that is all the different dynamics that it shows up in our life that is causing this poopy stuff, this shit to happen. And so a few of them, as we mentioned, just like feeling out of place, like I've never fit before, that I'm not really loved. My family, like, was I adopted? Maybe you're not, but you feel like it, like just so out of place. But
Yes.
it can also manifest in even disease. Is that correct? Because you're
Absolutely. Yeah. And this isn't just some new age thinking, that or some metaphysical mind over matter stuff. This has been so well documented and proven in study after study that it's not even controversial. The cause of all disease, with few exceptions, is childhood trauma. Period.
which is separation.
That's yes. That trauma, that's what a trauma is, right? I mean, the traumatic moment is I am myself, but I can't be myself. That's an existential crisis. I mean, what do you do? There's a trauma. You can't move. You can't fight it. You can't run away from it. There's nothing you can do about it. So there's only one way to live, and that's just completely stuff the whole thing down into the body. And that becomes the primary energy block. And then from that moment on, it's just compounding, because the sense of identity that gets created out of thin air, by the way, it's a complete fiction, right? Takes root. It becomes what we later call the ego, right? And then it just continues to develop itself over time, right? Off the false premise.
Mm.
And if you start with a false premise, it doesn't matter how well you draw the logic, you're going to end up with the wrong conclusion. And this is what we all went through. And that is why you feel the way it is. Yes, disease, limitation, stage fright, the inability to have a relationship, careers you don't like, relationships that you keep getting stuck in. They're all coming from the same place. They're
Right.
all coming from this disconnection to your soul.
I like that you use the word primary. Um, the first, the single, the beginning, the root,
Mhm.
that primary, because it really shows us, what it says to me. Primary means that there can be secondary, and and on and on and on.
Right.
And we can always deal with those little surfacey ones, the seventh down, the hundredth down, but
Yep.
it's to get to that primary. Is it the trauma that we're trying to get to transcend, or is it even further, we're trying to actually get to ourself, or do we have to go to
Yeah.
the primary?
The goal is to get to yourself, but in order to do that, you have to go through the trauma.
You do.
And I don't
And
mean we experience it as You know what I mean is that you have to transcend it. You have to go to that which was there before the trauma occurred,
Oh,
right? Because you're still there. You haven't gone anywhere. You
right.
are you. That never changes. And that's why there is redemption. That's why there is salvation. That's why this can be healed. If you really were nothing but a robotic machine, a programmable machine, first off, you wouldn't have any inner conflict about it. You wouldn't care because there'd be nothing to be a conflict, could be conflicted about. I mean, the dog doesn't get up in the morning and go, God damn it, I don't want to roll over today. If they ask me to do that one more time, I'm going to bite his nose off. They don't do that. They have no sense of inner conflict. They are completely their programming. We human beings are not. There's a consciousness there that says, I don't like this.
Hmm.
Something's off. Something's wrong. And that's the hint to start that that inner journey. And as you were saying, it is primary. It all came from one place. If you get to that one place, the entire thing collapses. The entire thing, beginning to end. You don't have to trim the tree anymore. It won't be there.
What if we had multiple separations, multiple primaries, multiple traumas?
No, we
I'm
don't. It's only one.
really
There's only one. Yep.
okay.
It,
Whoa,
it doesn't
hold
have
on.
to. There may be. It doesn't have to be a single event. You know,
Ah,
like an accident or a parent dying or something like that. It can be, or being tied into bed. It can be a single event. But usually, what it is a an environment that is consistently hostile to you,
okay. An
which
environment that
which
is
manifests itself in moments of diminishment. But when the nervous system determines that this is the permanent condition, this is always the way it's going to be, that's the moment when it's over. And
that's a
that
belief system.
it's a very primary belief system. It is a belief system before thought.
Oh,
So it's the realm of pure unconscious. It's the realm of pure. I call them energetic assumptions because they create thought patterns, but it's actually the nervous system adapting itself to the environment and its nature of being adaptation, um, and and it adapts by making behaviors automatic. Those automatic behaviors have embedded in them a perspective, a view of a map of reality.
hmm.
This is my reality. This is reality. And in the realm of the child in the home, it is. There isn't anything outside of that. So it adapts to that. It becomes automatic. And there's this assumption. And that assumption lingers for the rest of your life unless consciousness emerges.
And that, oh my gosh, and that's why awakenings are so uncomfortable at times, because it rocks your world. Literally, it disassembles, detangles, d,
Yes,
and then you're like, ah,
see
but
everything.
then you're with you. So
What's left? Yeah, you begin to notice all the detangling, all the deconstruction, all the destruction that's taking place. And then the teacher comes along and says, Yes, but you're still here. Oh, yeah, you're right. I am. All this
yeah.
stuff's happening, and I'm still here. Hmm, look at that. And this distance begins to happen. And it's from that place of awakening that you begin to see that in fact it was conditioning, it was created by the nervous system, it was never you, and all of a sudden there's distance. Now it's very intimate, you feel it in your body, your emotions, the thoughts, but suddenly you're looking at those thoughts and not just thinking, assuming they're yours. You're looking at the feelings, you're looking at the sensations, you're looking at the behaviors, and you realize that which is looking is not that. And that's the awakening. Now, yes, it can be very uncomfortable. for,
Yeah.
for sure, because you'll see things you really didn't, you'd rather not see. Um, but it's but if you stay with it, it's unbelievably beautiful, because what's seeing all of that is the original pristine you,
Right.
the you that was there before the conditioning took place. You weren't conditioned, the nervous system was.
I was just going to ask you, is it the self that is traumatized or the nervous system that is traumatized?
So the self can't be traumatized. It has to
Right.
be. The nervous system determines that it has to be hidden.
Hmm.
The self,
Okay.
the self is never anything other than the self. It can't be. You
Right.
can't be anything other than what you are.
I find that loving and beautiful to hear that the self cannot be traumatized, because in this world, this world, trauma is what we talk about all the time, like this PTSD, traumatized. We our last show, a traumatized world
Yes,
is okay. Oh, now I'm jumping, but is the world an identity? When we talked about the traumatized world, can the world hold an identity?
absolutely. That's exactly what it is. What is the world except what you have experienced, extrapolated, and so now you believe it's everywhere? The world exists only in your own mind.
See, that's mind blowing right now. 'Cause-
Yeah, where else does it exist? Remember, this trauma creates a map of reality. So this is the world as far as you're concerned, right? So are you ever really experiencing the world? No, not ever.
You
You're
created
only you've created it,
right.
because you've created the identity, you've created the identity of everything. You have created the identity of everything. This is Adam, and God brings all the animals and stuff, and Adam gives them all names, right?
Yes. What if we what do we do when I've created my world, you're here, GP, and all our lovely viewers, and I suddenly don't like something. I'm like, I don't like what that person said to me. I don't like how that person treated me. I don't like that I don't have enough money. I don't like this. Is what is what is going is that am I growing out of my container and challenging my beliefs and my assumptions, or am I just being a temper tantrum child at that point?
Well, it could be either, right?
Thanks.
'Cause sometimes, well, the discontent is not a bad thing, right? But oftentimes, in our ignorance, we react. Oops, I've got my makeshift setup here. Things are falling down. Um, um, oftentimes, the way we react, right, is also just part of the conditioning. We learned how to react in certain ways. We learned that I'm going to
Mhm.
like this, I'm not going to like that. This person's good, this person's bad, right? This is the right way to do things. Nobody should ever do anything different than that. We take all of those positions. All of them are destined for pain and suffering, right?
Mm.
Because the world just, people are just never going to conform to it the way you think they should. I don't care if you amass the power of a dictator; it'll eventually just crumble. Right? There's no way around it. So it behooves you to have the opportunity to begin to look at where's the discontent actually coming from. And if I say, oh, it's because that person is doing something, uh, you could just probe a little bit further. But yeah, but if it was them, if their behavior was causing your problem, if it was really that external, then their behavior should cause everybody that problem.
Right.
If it's coming from them, then everybody should be reacting to that. But everybody isn't. Matter of fact, that person you think is so horrible has got 18 boyfriends, right? Who think she's a goddess, right? So it's not them, it's my reaction to them. Now
Yes.
my attention has done this. I'm going, where's the reaction coming from? Why do I think that? Why am I frustrated? Why am I angry? Where's that coming from?
Mm.
All of a sudden it's like, oh, if if it was this circumstance, then everybody who has ever been in that circumstance should feel the same thing I do.
Because that would be truth. And
because
truth is true always.
because it would be the external reality, and we'd all be experiencing it. But the
Right.
fact is, nobody experiences the same thing ever, which
Right.
means it has nothing to do with the thing itself. It is
Mm,
all my reaction, and that's all my conditioning.
mm. GP, I love that you said to ask the question, why is this bothering you? Why is this going against something? Because as opposed to saying that's why and giving a definite reason, it's not judging it. It's not saying you're wrong. It's just saying why is this show? Well, like if somebody says something to me and it really upsets me, I can go why, and I think, well, I feel disrespected. Why? Because I feel I deserve more. Why? Because I'm tired of it. Or
Yes, but notice those are all subjective,
right.
introspective questions. That's
Yeah.
self-inquiry,
Yes.
because I'm asking now about my reaction. I'm not asking about that. They are what they are, and I'm
Right.
reacting. So I'm now inquiring into me, into my reaction.
Yes.
And that's the path back inward, past the trauma, back to the original innocence. Because the trauma creating the conditioning is all of those reactive patterns. Remember,
Okay.
that's all the nervous system is a collection of reactive patterns. That's it.
Right. So it's actually, this is funny because a lot of people might say, let's say I walked around and I said, why is this always happening to me? Why? And then somebody else might say, you're always so self-centered. But that's actually the way we want. Wait, I don't want to be saying, why do you always do this to me? I need to say, why am I what's going on? And it is good that we ask this question. This is
Yes.
self-inquiry, not external blame.
Yes. If you really ask that question, and it's not just God hates me, you
Right.
know, why is this always happening to me? It's like, wait a minute, why is this always happening?
Right.
And really, with a real curiosity, yeah, you're in the inquiry.
Yes. And quote unquote triggers. This is where our triggers are actually little tiny helpful hints. They're showing us literally what is in dispute with our nervous
Yes,
system, I
if
guess.
we become, yes, but the very fact that you look at that and you see that there's these conflicts, that only happens if some awakening has already taken place.
Oh,
Because
okay, hold on.
because
Say it again. That was good. I like that.
because otherwise you don't question it, you just do it.
Oh. Ah. Okay.
Even the fact that you go, God, I something's wrong, is an awakening. There's consciousness there. Otherwise, otherwise you'd just be doing it.
Right.
And the more consciousness there is, the more inward it gets. It becomes now, at first it can be good, God, I don't like this, and go, that's because they're doing that. But if consciousness continues to develop, well, wait a minute, it's not really them, it's my reaction. Well, what's this reaction about? Yeah, damn. Ah, can I get off the hook? No, sorry.
No, we usually are good at that, but this one I
Yeah, can't get off the hook. No,
Yeah.
and it then and the willingness to do that is the ever increasing consciousness and going deeper into the inquiry. And it is also the most loving thing to do,
Mm,
because that's where, because if you can find why you are reacting within you, you can heal it. If the reason you're reacting is what they're doing, you're stuck with that reaction for the rest of your life. There's
yes,
nothing you
you've
can do
lost.
about it.
You've
You've
lost.
lost.
And it's I like that you said to go deeper than just so even if I said, okay, so and so did this. That's why I do that. You can't stop there because now you're a victim. You must follow it.
Yes.
You must do the self-inquiry to transcend the trigger. Ooh, transcend the trigger.
Yes.
Because
Transcend the trigger.
we're not blaming it. We're not using it as the scapegoat and just saying, yeah, that's the way I am. Take me or leave me. It's kind of, I mean, yeah, they can because now they have to do their thing, right? They have to work
Yes.
first.
Yeah. Yes. Spirituality is a serious deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we laugh a lot here, but it's like it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. Yeah, there's be- being responsible. I'll make a statement and then ask if this is correct. Being responsible for, I want to say our behaviors is it's not just honorable and noble. It's is it aligning with our awakening?
Um, well, yeah. I mean, once some degree of awakening has taken place, at that point, you have the moral responsibility to follow through on it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty because the reactive patterns, the whole conditioning thing is still grinding along. It's not.
Right.
It doesn't disappear. There's
Mm.
there's been no such thing as any sage that's ever attained the ultimate awakening, where it's just one and done. I mean, Buddha talk about 500 lifetimes as a bodhisattva in service to a Buddha, right? So even though it appears you get it in one lifetime, it's kind of like the overnight success that takes 100 lifetimes. I mean, it's like you see the end of the story, you don't see the whole story, and all of the different things that lead up to that, to truly transcending all conditioning, right?
Mm.
But the if there's just the willingness to face the fact, well, first off, you need some kind of teaching. Somebody's got to tell you that, look, yes, what you saw was true and the reactions are still there. Otherwise, you're going to think the reaction comes back, you think, I did something wrong. I didn't get it. I've got to do something else. And you're on to the next program, the next seminar, the next thing, unless somebody comes along and goes, no, no, this is the way it's supposed to happen. The insight is there. Now you have to allow that to enter. You have to anchor that and
Mm.
let it begin to decondition the system.
Mm.
And that requires love. That requires allowing. That requires, it's a completely different way of being with yourself and in the world. Incredible amount of patience. This is the patience of divine love,
Oh,
where you
that
are
is.
willing to be with the very thing that is causing all your difficulties, because you can't get rid of it because it doesn't respond to anything other than love. It's an adaptable system. It's an adaptation. So if there's any kind of conflict or self-recrimination or this constant attempt to fix yourself in the environment, that's the environment that it's adapting to, and it defends itself against that. It's going to back off. But if you create the environment of safety, it's going to adapt to that. It will
Ah,
adapt to love.
I love that was beautiful actually, and I actually took a little note there about what divine patience is, but I just want to say this one thing. Ask this one thing. Guilt and blame came in my mind. What I just kind of got was when we have guilt or blame ourselves, it's because we have had the awakening and are we have not yet deprogrammed so we have the awakening, ah and then we do the old thing and we're like, come on, you know better. Right?
Yes.
Is that where guilt and blame come from? It's just that in between catch up, like I knew not to do
Well,
that and I did it, or I chose not to, or I didn't know how to do it.
guilt is a very powerful tool in the suppression that is conditioning, right? Because if I'm taught to feel guilty about what I do, but even beyond that, guilty about how I feel,
Yes.
I will suppress those feelings like anything, because there's guilt and fear are the worst feelings that there are. Guilt and shame, I mean, guilt and shame. They're the worst feelings. And it really is guilt on steroids is shame. Shame, guilt. I can feel guilty about doing something, right? I did
Yeah,
something. I go, ugh, that was not a good thing to do.
I knew it. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, I'm going to know better next time, right? Because there's a wisdom and love there, because you're actually feeling the consequence of the action, and when you feel the negative consequence of an action, that's all the moral feedback you need,
I love that moral feedback.
right? Nobody
Yes.
nobody has to, you don't need any 10 commandments. Believe me. You
Right.
go, oh my God, that feels horrible. I'm not going to do that again. And you may a couple more times, right? Because just out of the habit, you go, well, it still doesn't feel any better. and and eventually you just can't sustain it anymore. Shame is different. Shame is you feel bad about what you are. It is an existential condemnation. This is the nature of all the Abrahamic religions. You are born a sinner. Therefore, you are off from the get go, and there's nothing you can do about it. That is the most horrible teaching that has ever existed. And
Yeah.
it's dominant in the world. It's also the religious traditions that have created the most war, poverty, oppression, slavery, the lot. Yeah.
Shame, like to shame someone or shame, that almost feels like that's the worst separation ever. Like it is
Oh, it is. You've just
disconnect.
not only are you not yourself, yourself is horrible. It's
Yeah.
offensive in the eyes of God. Oh my God.
Right. There's no redemption there. You feel
There's no,
hope. That's hopeless.
no, there's no, you cannot redeem yourself. That's the whole life. Yeah, the sacrifice of Christ and all of that, right? It is so horrible, that this innocent has to suffer horribly in order to pay for your sin.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the kids are starving in Africa. You eat that food on your plate. You're the most horrible person if you
Horrible.
don't do that.
Yes.
Where sorry, and I because I don't want to leave anybody who's feeling, if they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling shame." If we've experienced being shamed, feeling shame about ourselves, um um what is that first, just the willingness to be curious about where that so if we took your lesson earlier, I'm going to call that here at homeschool. Um, the lesson is to at first say, okay, I can witness that I'm feeling shame. I am now. So if I inquire it, not why did they shame me, but why did I feel
Why am I
shameful
feeling it?
about
Yes.
it?
Yes, it's a deep one. It's a
Yeah.
difficult one because it's completely debilitating. I mean,
Yeah.
it could just rob you of all of your energy, of all your enthusiasm, of all your confidence, right? But it has a very definite feel to it, right?
Yes.
It is not abstract, right? We could talk about it in the abstract, but when you feel shame, it's a visceral contracting at the energy. It's like you can feel it, right? So, yes, the same thing. They shamed me. Well, they could only shame me if there was something in here that could be shamed, right?
Right.
So let's find that.
Yeah.
And let's question this. Is this true? Am I really this horrible being that because I don't know, so many tens of thousands of years ago, my great 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 grandmother ate a fruit off a tree she wasn't supposed to, and now I'm
We're
this
thinking of Eve as a great grandmother.
now I'm this horrible creature. I had no plan on being born. I didn't have anything to do with any of this, right? And here I am now being completely put to shame. Where is this true? Is this true? And of course, those religions don't want you to even ask that question
Right.
be-
Mhm.
because and they scare the hell out of you, right? Or the hell into you, really, to to not ask that question, because if you do, it does not stand up to scrutiny.
Yes.
The moment you
Um,
start questioning, it begins to collapse like a house of cards because it's the most absurd thing in the world.
yeah. It's almost like taking I saw Mark's comment there quickly. If I reverse it, so it's like we often guilt, so I recognize I made a mistake, and shame I am a mistake. It's almost like going backwards to self-inquire, saying, wow, if you feel like you are a mistake, maybe you could question and say, well, perhaps I just made a mistake. Like let's take that.
Yes, you do have to remember that for the child, um, everything is existential.
Right.
If the child is if the parents the child can't say I've got bad parents. The child says I'm bad.
Oh, yeah.
Inevitably, that's what they do. That's the conclusion. Mommy and daddy are God. They can't possibly do anything wrong. It has to be me. I have to adjust to them, which is true because the child is utterly powerless. If it doesn't adjust to the parents, well, you're dead.
Right. Yeah. And there are some children actually who will turn and say, "Wait, no, mommy bad." Daddy, no. They have a
They
reputation.
all do it first.
Yes.
They all do it first. Because you can see, I know a little 3-year-old getting angry, stamping their foot or something. And sometimes it's quite justified, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's quite justified, but they have no power.
Right.
So eventually that all gets squashed, right? And of course, the mission of a parent is to try to squash as little as they can, but at the same time, there are real dangers. There are really things, the kid can't chase the ball into the street. They can't stick the fork in the light socket. They do have to have limits on them, and that's where it gets confusing. To can you convey the correct message? Right?
Yes.
Speaking of little kids, that's why I have my little kid Band-Aid. I cut my thumb, but
Oh.
Audrey, my granddaughter, got me the Band-Aid. Right? So I don't know.
She was a very good nurse, doctor.
It's
Thank
blue.
you, Audrey.
It's yeah, it's Blue Boy. Yeah.
I was gonna say I would request a Disney princess, please.
Well, she didn't have. I guess she didn't have any frozen ones, or she won't share the frozen ones. Those are only for her.
That's right. You
I
can get
got the
Ella.
I got the minor superhero.
That's like, we'll let you be the superhero.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been a wow, really unfolding conversation thus far. I like this is really getting to me today. I will everybody, thank you so much for your comments. We love them. We do love being able to. I'm going to let GP read through them because it's exciting recess time today. I'm so excited about this recess because, oh yes, I must do this. Although I am in Canada, GP is in the United States, and you guys have Thanksgiving coming up, which is a beautiful, beautiful holiday. I still love it absolutely. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody from both GP and myself. And the next day is Black Friday. Then we have that Cyber Monday and all these crazy things that have turned into deals. And so, you know what? I've known GP for over a year now, so I know that this is true. He doesn't normally, do these things, these sales and traditional, like, holidays and stuff. However, we want to recognize that all of you might be looking forward to something. So GP has gone through some of the courses and chosen quite a few powerful ones, including the 4 powers, actually, and has put them on a ridiculous sale. And I do say ridiculous because they're like 75% off. Some of them are 25, some of them are 50, but a lot of them are 75% off. And I wanted just to pull up, just to mention a few of the courses. These are the courses that when I do them, I'm just like, oh my gosh, my life has just changed again. I've had this awareness and my soul is reconnecting. And then I go into a slight like, oh, I need to do another one because so much is going on right now. And I would just like to let you guys know that. So for special Black Friday, and then you can go to the page. Oh, is that BF? BFF. No, so there
Yeah.
you go. So
Right.
go to gpwalsh.com/BF for Black Friday. And the Just Allow It course. This is also an opportunity for gifts. I am going to say that because it's the first thing I thought about was, oh, wow, these are now like they're $27, most of them. So these are hopefully affordable to share. But the Just Allow It, which is all 5 volumes with over 10 hours of the best training and teaching on the yoga of allowing. I'll let you guys go to the page and check it out. Your 4 amazing powers of creation, which I'm not giving anything away there. I can say this: attention, identity, discrimination, and belief. That one and the chakra one for me, GP, was, well, I was totally sold on self-inquiry after that, but those were life-changing for me in such an amazing way. That's why I like that they're called your 4 amazing powers of creation. We did a show on each one of those powers actually when we were with Home Times Radio, so we can share that. You are also going to get money and the chakras. I know a lot of money stuff going on right now, and this is a great way to help you. The blocks to money and the wealth lie deep in the unconscious. This is how you get access to those parts and liberate them. I love that one. So that's there as well. You're not broken. This show today might specifically make you go, yeah, I'm not broken. So go get that one. That one's an amazing one. Inner reconciliation, big one. This 12 Well, go through a little bit. Yeah, that was the one you just completed, GP. This 12 model workshop will cover all the basics of why this radical statement is demonstrably true, and even give you the direct experience of its truth. And that was for the inner reconciliation. That it's just, you're not broken. It all ties together. So you guys have to go to this. Tap into money and wealth. Who does tapping here? Who does the energy, the tapping, the EFT? I find myself doing that more and more since I've met GP. Um, that's to help clear away blocks and resistances to experience greater financial freedom and security. I'm just so excited I had to go through that. So that one's off 75% off. So please, you guys, just go check out. And while you're on the site, sign up to the letter. Like I used to call it the love letter, the light letter. And because we want to be able to let you know about these sales that do come up, and all the shows that are coming up and everything. So get onto the site first. And I do encourage you guys, if you are in the Facebook group or you're watching us on YouTube, or you've joined GP every Sunday for a satsang, we really extra invite you to sign up to the light letter. And I'll tell you why. You then have direct contact with us. We can have it with you. And we don't know what happens to platforms. Sometimes they get glitchy. Sometimes you get booted off. So who knows? But we don't want to lose our connection with you. And that means a lot to us to have you a part of the community. So just sign up for the light letter. Plus you get Angels in the Basement for free. It's the PDF. It's the first ebook there. And there's just so much that we want to share with you guys. So happy Thanksgiving. Please enjoy the sales and shop and buy gifts for people. And GP, thank you for doing that sale for everybody. It's extraordinary.
Well, I've got a bunch of stuff sitting around, and I just thought I'd make it available. Once I do something, I completely lose interest in it, and
One and done.
yeah, but it still has a lot of value for a lot of people. I mean, just allow it. I released that in 2010, and I've still got people that are doing it regularly, because it was the first thing I ever produced. Yeah, because it was just grasping the idea of allowing as a complete redefinition of the relationship with yourself to start creating the inner environment of safety and love that is the solution to all the trauma, including the existential, the one that caused all the other traumas. The only way to do it is through mastering the inner world of allowing. Because as long as there's a conflict with what you're feeling, the nervous system is on defense, and you'll never break through. But once it begins to relax into that environment of love, it just literally lays down all its armor. Because what is there to you don't need to defend yourself against love.
That's so beautiful. It was this morning I was texting with one of your lovely students, and she just has such a beautiful relationship with trust. And what a great way to wake up and trust in yourself, and trust in life, and trust in others, and to get to that point. And we really do need to do the self-inquiry work to get there, because otherwise you people watching, you might feel that like, oh, I don't trust people, I don't trust this, nothing ever works out, I don't trust myself in a situation.
Yes,
like it's just it's a separated way of feeling. So
even self-inquiry can have some overhead on it. Right?
yes.
When it's driven by I've got to fix myself. When there's that underlying belief, even self-inquiry is going to struggle, because it isn't going to be I just really want to know myself. It becomes another subtle way in which we go, I want to fix myself.
Oh, that's a great
Without that allowing, which is simply the unconditional love, even self-inquiry will be stalled.
That is the most beautiful distinction, where you can feel that I want to know myself versus I want to fix myself. Oh,
Yes.
pain in it. Well, we'll go back into the flow. We go, recess is over. Recess is always fun. Because we started a little bit late, we're just going to go a smidgy over because there's long questions and comments, and I do think that we should at least read them, unless you already had a chance to read them, GP.
I have not. No.
Okay. I'm going to go to the beginning because we always like to say hello to everybody. And welcome to Amanda. Doesn't usually come up the name, so I'm going to say hello to Amanda. We've got our lovely regulars. It's nice to be called a regular. So on the flow here, we typically do the student teacher kind of thing, but then I always like to have a poke around in here for the comments. Where's a really big one? Where's that long one? Facebook user. Hi guys. Yay. Lovely to be here listening to you as well. I'm curious about how we are guided in our awakening. Is our higher selves underneath all the conditioning calling to us, whatever it means to reconnect and to end suffering? Oh, dreams. Interesting. Okay. Ooh. All right. Are dreams part of an awakening? Is our own
Remember, the awakening is the perception we take of experience. The experience and that perception determines whether the experience is contributing to our awakening, the awakening or not. It's all about about how you're perceiving it, right? Now, dreams are interesting because the world of the dream is the world of the myth. It is the world of symbolic representations, and you can have them in daydreams with fantasies that's a form of it. When I work with people that often have a vision, a waking kind of dream, which is because the whole energy system is very primal, and it is not limited to words. That's just the smallest part of it. Feelings and sensations, and I mean, I've had experiences where I've smelled things and tasted things that weren't in the room, right? Right. I mean, I've literally that. I would call that a tactile hallucination, but it really, the nature of the system is it can create that. And so with a dream, never put yourself, oh God, it means something, what's it mean? And then put yourself in a panic because you don't know what it means. You simply ask, show me, what does that mean? What are you trying to tell me? And then just listen, and you may hear something, you may not. But the act of paying attention without leading it, or without pressuring it, or without thinking I've got to get something, right, creates the space in which, if there is a message there, it can come out, it can come forward. Because any other position you adopt, right, has built into it an assumption about what it's supposed to be. And so now you're driving the conversation without knowing it. Just picture your nervous system like this other being, right, that from another planet, and they speak a different language, and you're trying to kind of feel your way through as to what is this thing communicating. Because consciousness is not the body. The body is a completely different functioning. Ultimately, you see that it is a functioning of consciousness, but the way we get there is through this conscious relationship with it, because the whole body, the whole mechanism, the nervous system has been disowned, right? So you're not seeing it as an integral part of the whole picture. You're seeing it as this other thing, and the world is out there, and people are all out there, and it's totally an illusion. They're not. And your connection to everything is simply the feelings you're having right here. This is the world.
Right. Yeah. I'm feeling guilty right now because yeah, I actually had a weekend for the first time where I felt anger. I got angry. I was like, "Ugh, I'm PMSing," which I sounds like a total cop out. I'm sorry, but I thought I'm extra sensitive, perhaps. But I'm
You're
perceiving.
allowed that. I'm not.
There you go. I do laugh when I'm PMSing. It's funny, but so it's a sensing. So I'm perceiving things differently than I would yesterday, than I would today. But I'm so. Do we have? And I have to ask this: if we can we have this intelligent, logical conversation with ourselves and say, "You're seeing things the way that isn't serving you. Could I witness, or could you show me another way that I would feel good about?" Is that a conversation?
That's quite a legitimate question, isn't it? Remember the whole energy system. The most the most primal drive is to survive, right? That's what made this whole thing happen in the first place. Secondarily is our drive for freedom,
Oh, yes.
right?
Ah,
We can't forget that. Now,
cannot.
since the basic drive for survival can't be changed, it can't be anything different than that,
Right.
right? That's what it is, right? But it can, but it has gotten itself into a particular mode through automatic behavior. This is the autonomic nervous system, that it's always responding in a particular way, right? And the way it responded at one time was highly functional, strategic, it worked, but it doesn't work anymore.
Mm.
So the mission is to lovingly coax it, right? But not, if you try to force it and self-help it and fix it, it senses that as just another threat and it digs in its heels. But if instead you've created an environment of safety and say, look, I know you got to protect me. That's your job. And quite frankly, I want you to. And you're doing a really bang up job. You're doing a great job. Could you do it a little differently? Is that
Mm.
possible? Now, notice how gentle a question that is. You're not even insisting that it does it differently. You're asking it. That was my very first experience when I had a waking vision, and I had a conversation with the energy system, and it appeared to me as a bunch of Secret Service men who wouldn't let me do anything. And I said, "Okay, but could you protect me outside? It's like really hard. You're like right here in my face. Could you protect me outside?" I'm going to right outside. Literally, that's what it said. Boom, and then it disappeared. And my life changed overnight
I love
because the
that.
strategy it adopted was different,
Mm.
because I had engaged with it as it was, right? I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to not make it flow. I was saying, can you flow around this instead of slamming on it all the time? And it's,
Yes.
yeah, I can do that.
Oh,
And you'll see it. I mean, if you ever work with somebody using inner reconciliation, you'll just actually posing the question, they will visibly relax in front of you. Because the whole thrust of personal development and self-help is fixing, as if the mind knows what to do. It's the height of arrogance, actually.
yeah. Let me take over. I got this.
I got this. I got this. Yeah. I'll take it from here, soldier. I mean, it's like, come on.
I love
You
that.
don't know
Um,
anything.
I have to ask everybody, I love that you just did that reminder, that first it's about survival and then we go to freedom. And sorry, I had to show because I just love that I had the aha moment. Yeah, I was totally, I was like, I'm surviving, but now my freedom's being encroached upon. And that's when I got angry. So yes, thank you.
Well, that is the essential conflict, right? Because the child is free, but the freedom gets restricted. The freedom is freedom to be yourself, right?
Right. Yes.
But when it becomes down to being free and dying, or surviving and not being free, the nervous system makes the choice, makes the call.
Yeah. Oh,
So the question is, can I be free and safe at the same time? Now just
yes.
ask yourself that question. Go, wow, I'd never actually thought about that.
I love that. Okay, you guys, that's your homework. like from homeschool.
Ask yourself
Can
that
I be
question.
free and safe at the same time, or can I be safe
It's
and
safe
free?
at
No,
the
can I
same
be
time.
free and safe at the same time? That's the question. Can I be free and safe at the same time? And if you don't feel you can, I know that one of those courses on sale right now will help you. I have to say it. Because
I have to say
or a
it.
session with GP, of course. I would, oh my gosh, I would like to go on forever and ever about this because this is so like it answers everything. But then we still need time to incorporate this, time for the programs to be deprogrammed, time for us to all kind of settled in. So
You have
if
to
you guys have
remember,
had,
this has been affecting you. You have been living out the opposite of this your whole life.
yeah,
You've got this down to a T. And it's almost like trying to unlearn riding a bike.
yeah,
You can't do it, right? It takes an enormous amount of patience and gentleness to change a well ingrained habit, uh, even a little bit. Right?
yeah,
But the good news is you've got all the powers on your side because you are the original pure you. That hasn't changed. And the nervous system does not want to be in a defensive posture. It
yeah. It's a lot of work.
wants to be eliminated, to be liberated.
Yes,
It knows this isn't the way it's supposed to be, but it will not give up. It will not drop its position until it knows it's safe.
yes. Oh,
You're
that's
simply
so
working with the nature of things. You're working with the Tao. This is the flow. This is the nature of life itself. That's why it works so well. And that's why it's so self-evident.
oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, I love that. And ah, yes, another wonderful episode on these things that are life. So please share with us your comments. And if you, I guess, no, yeah, there's the like button on both. I was going to say if you're only on YouTube, but yes, we love likes. So thumbs up on every possible platform that you can. and and as the comments come into, we'll have a peek later. And there's lots of thank yous and hellos from everybody. And sunny Vancouver. Oh, good, you guys have sun over there today. Wonderful. It's
Yay.
Yay, Audrey Faye. Um, and just one tiny funny thing there when you said about how easily we get into habits even though we're not right. You know that I'm so used to expanding on like a touch screen that I'll go to a newspaper print or something and I'll try to expand it. And I'm like,
Yes.
what am I doing? So it's like yeah. So we're gonna
Yes.
take our time and we're gonna laugh at ourselves a little bit and say, and so
I'm
but
trying to zoom the paper. Yeah.
yes, that's the word. Yeah, I tried to zoom in. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on Tuesdays to the Flow on Homeschool Live here. And we love all your comments and all your participation. And just another friendly reminder to check out the sales on gpwalsh.com/BF Black Friday. BF.
Flash, Rio. Flavio.
The sales are so crazy. It's making me
It's so,
fabulous.
it's crazy. They call me crazy. Jeez.
And next week we'll see GP, I think, at his second location as he does his little tour.
Tempe, Arizona next week. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, GP. We'll see you in Arizona next Tuesday, and we'll see everybody again then too. Okay,
I
bye everyone.